I love Rob Zombie stuff as well. So like,
Yes, Devil's Rejects.
Devil's Rejects is one of my
So that's
favorite,
a
and I
big
just watched Three from Hell like last week.
Oh wow.
And I thought it was cool. My buddy Pancho's in it. Shout out to Pancho Mola, dude. And like, it was really cool. Like, we sort of became friends on Instagram. He sort of like reached out to me. I think he'd auditioned for Joker basically, and he'd somehow how the fuck he found out I got it. But like, yeah, and like we started like chatting, and we became buddies. And I was in LA for the Joker premiere and met up with him in Danny Trejo's taco place.
Oh man!
Oh wow!
You're hanging out with the rock stars now.
Yeah, no, we I was just went there to meet Pancho, who's in Tree from Hell.
Danny cool.
I just wanted to, I wanted to get some tacos, and I thought, right, let's check out Danny Trejo's place. And as soon as we walked in the door, Danny Trejo's just there.
No way.
You would think he's actually in there running his fucking taco shops. I thought that was cool as hell.
So how did you end up hanging out with members of Slipknot, J-Man or V-Man?
V-Man's my buddy. I've known him for years.
No way.
Yeah, so obviously he's a British guy. He used to he used to like tour manage and tech for like big bands like Lamb of God, like Mastodon and all of that.
Yeah, Mastodon. Yeah, I knew him from working on Mastodon.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah.
So like a bit of background on like music kind of stuff and going to see bands. Like Leigh's the best person to be around for that because it's backstage passes all the time. Like the places we get, it's all because of the disability and stuff. It's like generally you're up at the side of the stage, or your own little super secret special places.
The only thing being a short ass gets me is they have those like wheelchair ramps at festivals.
Yeah.
Like I'm allowed to get on those so I can see over people's heads because I don't want to look at people's backs the whole time.
It's amazing how often you end up backstage.
Yeah, but that's because I'm just like always party too much and then end up making friends with people. I went to a great gig the other night. I went to see Thrice and Refused, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool that they Thrice came back around again.
Oh man, like they're one of my favorite bands of all time. And actually, I mean, I don't know whether I should be talking about this, but interesting enough, Leigh had put me in touch with Refused manager, and I might be working with Dennis from Refused on some.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, Dennis wanted a suit, and I know Refused manager, like he used to manage a friend's band back in the day, and he'd obviously seen my suits and Graeme had made, and he was like, Leigh, I don't suppose your friend might be interested in making a suit for Dennis from Refused. I was like, hell yeah, he would.
That's awesome.
Like soundtrack to our youth, really.
Yeah.
Right? So, but I mean, it might. Not, I don't know whether anything's going to. But yeah, so we'll see. But it's certainly going to be interesting because, like, it's going to be something that will be very creative.
I was chatting with Dennis after the show, and he's really like excited about it. So I think
That'll be cool. So we'll see. Watch this space, I guess.
That's awesome. Again, you've been in great things. You've been in Game of Thrones, Fantastic Beasts, other things like that. But this is like, I feel like this movie is just so massive, historically, culturally. It's so big and it's pushing boundaries. What's the crazy situation you found yourself in because of maybe the reach that this movie has gotten now?
The fact that so Emma Tilligen-Koskov produced Joker. She's like the loveliest lady ever. Like I sort of forgot that she was the producer because she was just like so hands-on. She'd be there like every day on set. She'd just come and sit and chat, and it was really cool becoming friends with her over the filming. And she's like Scorsese's right-hand woman. She's the new like mega producer. She's amazing, and she produced The Irishman as well. And about a week before the London premiere for The Irishman, I got a message off of Emma on Instagram. It's weird getting messages on Instagram from people like that, And she invited me along as her guest for The Irishman premiere, which was incredible. And she introduced me to Scorsese, and then there was a after party for the end of the film festival, the London Film Festival. But then she was like, before we went in to watch the movie, she was like, okay, Leigh, so ignore that after party. There's another real after party somewhere else, and so we were like, me and my friend Steve were like one of the first people to get there after the movie, and there was about 5 to 10 people there for a while, and I ended up sat next to Al Pacino, and I got to chat to him for about an hour or something, and it was just like, you know what I mean? It's just certain situations like that you never expect to find yourself in, you know. And he was just the coolest dude. You know what I mean? Like, people say don't meet your idols, but you really should, because like he is just, he did not disappoint. There was zero kind of ego. He was just like, but he was still super cool, you know. Like, awesome. And I think that was the most bizarre situation that's happened so far.
Situation.
I have one final question about Joker.
Actually, the best quote. Like, so we were chatting a lot at the beginning of the party, and as he was leaving, it's cool. He sort of like came to say goodbye to me, which was awesome. But then he said, he was like, he hadn't seen Joker yet, but as he said goodbye, he was like, "I'm gonna go watch your clown movie," and I was like, "Yeah, go and watch this clown movie." So, yeah. That's the coolest thing. I'm gonna go watch your clown movie.
Watch your clown movie now.
I love the idea of him sat there and watching and that's my little friend. Yeah.
That should be a new meme.
Yeah.
Scarface and Gary. Hey, I do have one last question about Joker. So when you go to the London premiere, that's the first time you've seen the final movie. What was your first impression?
Oh, it blew my mind. Just like the cinematography, the score. Yeah, it's just, obviously I'd read the script and I was there obviously for the filming of my scenes.
You have no idea what it's going to look like visually with everything else. Yeah.
I mean, I had a sense, but it just, even just like the way they did the titles and everything, you know, like just the whole feel of it was just such a cool throwback to, you know, Todd, you know, he says he was heavily influenced by all of the old Scorsese films, you know, Taxi Driver and like King of Comedy, and like, you really can, it does have that feel.
Yeah,
it's amazing. I don't know, Todd is, he's a bit of a genius, I think. And he, do you know what I mean? Like, 'cause I think a lot of people before it came out were thinking, oh, the Hangover guy, but I love that movie.
I do too.
Yeah. And,
I'm here for the gangbang. That's him. That's he's the one that sucks the girl's toes on the coach on Road Trip. Is it Road Trip? Like, I was a little disappointed that Todd didn't have his cameo in this, because he always appears as the same character. Some creep.
Yeah, with his like afro wig that he wears.
Yeah,
but,
it's like
one single earring. Stuff, though, like especially with the Hangover and stuff. Like the forefront of it is, you know, you're going to watch a comedy movie, so you're not paying attention to the aesthetic of it. But still, like in terms of cinematography, those films were actually, you know, pretty stunning. So it's obviously going to kind of, you know, he's got that creative flair, I think, for it. But man, aesthetically, Joker was just, and the score as well.
Yeah, man.
It's so funny, like, you know, we're talking about the aesthetic, we're talking about the score, cinematography, and then not just all that, but also the social commentary of how people thought that, oh, you know, the news was portraying this film to be some sort of love letter to incels, and is it going to romanticize violence? And it's, in my opinion, complete opposite. It kind of shows society, look what happens when you're a piece of shit to people.
Yeah.
Like, look at when you're like, and my dad called me and spoke to me about this movie for 2 hours on the phone because it was so significant to him. And he was telling me, he's like, I feel horrible now. Anytime that I pass a homeless person or I ignore someone begging for change, and you ignore it, you pretend it's not there. Like, you don't care about the plight of the everyday man who's, you know, below you. And it's like, this movie is changing the way I think about how I treat people. You know, it's
not just about being sympathetic, but actually legitimately scared. next person you pass on the street might be the next mass shooter or whatever.
Right.
Well, I saw the movie after just coming back for a vacation from New York City, and I saw Arthurs everywhere.
Yeah.
On the subways, on the streets. I saw Arthurs everywhere, and so I was sitting watching that movie going, and it was taking me back to the people that I saw in New York. It's hit me pretty heavy.
Yeah. Even without that, like, I kind of feel like just addressing those concerns, like from a political point of view, the movie didn't do that at all. It didn't glorify any of it. Like you sympathized with him until just that moment where he snapped, and then I mean, especially watching him kill his own mom and stuff. You're like, okay, no, I don't really like this guy so much anymore.
Right. But I think it gives I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with how much of a realistic showing it is of mental health problems, because what Dean is just next level, he really, I've never seen anyone go so far into a character, and the way it comes across on screen, gives you shivers, and I think a lot of people are uncomfortable seeing that mental health issues on such a realistic way, you might have someone that's depressed in a movie, but in this movie, he's in every scene, he's in every shot, so you really go through it with him. So that's what's unique about this film. It's not just you'll see one character who's depressed and then it'll cut away to two happy people somewhere else. You're with him throughout the whole movie. Mm-hmm. So and you're following his decline, his mental struggles, and because you're with someone who's that troubled for the entire movie. Some people are uncomfortable with that, but I think it's important to shine a mirror on issues like that. And it's good. Make people feel uncomfortable, and then maybe they won't ignore it if they think someone's going through something. Talk to them about it. Be nice. Be a Gary.
Hashtag be Gary.
Be Gary.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of talk for this movie being up for a lot of Academy Awards and stuff like that. Do you think you'll come over for the awards?
I hope so. Obviously, I've never done anything of this scale before, so I don't know how it all works.
Fuck, I'm gonna have to do another suit.
That's what I was about to say.
No, a couple of them, man, because you got Golden Globes. Yeah, you got the Golden Globes, you got the Academy Awards, you got the Screen Actors Guild. You're gonna have to make about 5 or 6.
Oh, fuck.
Awesome.
Maybe to cut down on some of the work you'll have to do for the linings, we'll just provide you with a logo, and one of the linings can just be Bet First Radio logos.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Sure.
Awesome.
So I've actually got a question for you guys, as fans. Obviously there's a lot of buzz going up to this movie, and I think none of us has. I mean, I had probably a little bit more of an insight into it than anyone else. Not that I had any spoilers, but I had a feeling that it was going to be something special and it was going to deliver. But I think the fan base at large sort of was probably a little bit nervous about how it was going to come across.
Very much.
What was the point in the movie where you were like, okay, yeah, this is Joker. We've got him. We've nailed it. Because for me, there was this moment, this pivotal moment in it, which just made me shake, where he's getting hounded by his boss, right? Yeah. And that creepy grin just comes across his face, which is just that perfect mix of
when he's saying to give the sign back, he's like, "Why would I steal the sign?" He just starts smiling.
That was I was like, "That's Joker. That's like there's nothing that's come closer than that in a cinema role to the Joker, right? Yeah. That was it for me. But I was wondering what part of the movie was that.
For me, it was in the subway when the Wall Street asshole guys were picking on him, and he had the gun, and the gun went off, and he realizes, I've got the power.
Yeah.
And then he chases the third guy down, and you could see him he was no longer scared of this thing that he had in his hand anymore. Yeah. And he was going that way, and he stalked the guy down, and then he went and ran into the bathroom and went into his transformation dance, like kind of almost like Buffalo Bill from,
Oh yeah.
Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs. So that to me, I was like, okay, he's evolving mentally. It's no longer where he's, like just getting beat down. He's evolving.
Yeah. Good. That's a good scene to point out too, Gramps, because I feel like at that moment for me is when you separate from feeling any kind of sympathy for this guy to, okay, now he's making a choice. He's stalking this guy, this last guy to kill. He's murdering that last guy. So for the audience, for me, that's when I made the separation from Arthur to myself. Was like, all right, this guy's now going. He's now making choices that I would never make. I do not feel sorry for this guy anymore.
Because people don't, and I don't think, for a large part of me, people aren't bad. People are good. It's just that bad things happen to people, and they have a choice whether they want to go left or right. And some people make choices where they get in situations they can't get out of, or they don't want to face the consequences, and then it starts spiraling out of control. And that's kind of where I felt with Arthur. Yeah. And he, people shit on him. I mean, and a lot of what his bad choices were reaction to that. And then also part of the film shows that he didn't want to face the consequences. He didn't go to the police, to admit to the murders, but
climbed in the bridge.
Right.
He starts to like it little by little.
Yeah. He starts evolving. He starts changing.
I think as fans of this character and as fans of the overall mythos of comics and Batman, we're as a group, I feel like we're grown men. We're pretty optimistic as far as like we're not going to hate something just because it's an idea that's out there. If it's not for us, it's not for us. We're not going to watch it. We're not going to talk about it. When this movie was first entered, or I remember specifically talking about this with the rest of the guys. We're like, what the fuck? They're making an Origins Joker movie? Like, do we really need this? And if so, how is it going to get done? But the people that were attached to it at the time, it was like, oh shit, Scorsese's involved? Like, okay, well, that sounds interesting.
So we were still confusing. Yeah. Because they had, all the Zack Snyder, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Justice League, the Suicide Squad tied into that. And everyone was under the impression that maybe they were going to keep going with this combined universe. But then there was even talk of a standalone Jared Leto movie. And I was like, well, I was kind of confused. I was like, well, how can you have two Joker movies? How is that going to work together? This one killed that.
Right. Yeah. God. Right. Rest in peace, Jared Leto's Joker.
But, to go back to the question, one of the parts that made me realize that they were getting Joker was when they were illustrating that he didn't perceive the world as it really was. When we started to see that he was imagining a relationship with his neighbor, and he was imagining that the audience at the comedy club was loving his act. And that really resonates with Joker in the comics, because Joker doesn't see things rationally. He doesn't see the world as it actually is.
Right.
There was a recent story in the comics, just a short story from Tom King and Clay Mann, leading up to the Batman and Catwoman wedding, where Joker presumes that he's going to get an invitation to their wedding. And to receive this invitation, he lets himself into some random man's house and holds the man at gunpoint, waiting for the mail to come because, well, of course I'm going to be invited to their wedding, and why wouldn't my invitation just come to this house? So he's holding this guy hostage in his own home and tells him, don't worry, if my invitation comes, I'm not going to kill you.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. Why wouldn't it show up here? And then in the end, he just kills the guy regardless, but that's just Joker doesn't
he picks up a random piece of mail and is like, here it is.
Oh wow, really?
Does that fit, but then kills him anyway.
It's one of my favorite Joker stories.
That's exactly how Joker is. Like he isn't perceiving the world the same way we are. You know, he thinks everyone was laughing at his jokes. He thought he had this regular romantic relationship with his neighbor, and that all jived with who he is.
Yeah, I was hesitant. The first notion that I got that, okay, even if I don't like this as a Joker movie or a comic book movie, this is probably going to be a really good fucking movie, was the first trailer. When they dropped the first trailer and it was synced up to the music they used for it, I was like, holy fuck, this looks amazing. Yeah. And after that first trailer, I was excited to see the movie, still very hesitant as far as like, man, what are they going to do with this universe? What are they going to do with this character? You know, it's a one shot. So it's kind of like, if it sucks, you know, at least it's just one and done. And then when I was watching the movie, what I love about the movie is I can kind of sink into it and completely forget that it's a comic book movie, because you can make this movie about anybody. It could be about any man, and it still tells a similar story of, you know, what this guy is going through. It doesn't have to be the Joker. It could be fucking Charles Manson. It could be Jeffrey Dahmer. It could be the Milkman or whatever. But it's a compelling, amazing, gritty story at a sick society that this man lives in, who's already sick. And the moment when I knew it was a fucking masterpiece of a movie, like I was sunk in. I was in that movie, like not paying attention to anything else. But it was at the end when he gets out of the patrol car and he's standing on top of the patrol car and he turns and that mob of people are cheering and looking up at him. And he's got the makeup on his face and he takes the blood and turns it into a smile. I fucking cried then. I cried in that moment. And then when they tied it into Batman with the alley scene, that made me fucking lose it. I was like, oh my God, they wrapped this shit up in a bow for us. And like, that was the cherry on top. And I up until that moment, I had no idea that they were going to try to even tie it into Batman. I know that they were going to make nods to the characters and Thomas Wayne was in it and Bruce was in it, but I didn't think they were going to like go as far as to show the birth of the character like that. Yeah. And it was at that moment in that scene when I was like, holy shit, this movie's a fucking masterpiece. And I know what you said, like, you know, Graeme, when you mentioned, like, you know, disrespect to anybody involved in the movie, actually more so as a form of respect and as a form of honoring it. Like, it's almost impossible to do a sequel. It's almost impossible to touch this thing because it's so fucking perfect right now. Like, where do you go? And I told some people this because they, you know, they were Batman guys, we're comic book guys. So they always ask us, like, what'd you think of the movie? And I told them, honestly, like, it made me a little depressed because how dare they make something that fucking good? You know, like how can you, where do you go from that? Like, how do you not do something? How do you not screw it up? Or how do you make something as good? It's just almost, it's a perfect movie. And it's like, if it never gets a sequel, that's okay by me.
You know? It's now the new baseline.
Yeah.
And like, okay, everything that comes after this better be as good. Better be as good.
Is it as good as Joker, though? It was good, yeah, but was it better than Joker? Was it better than Joker, you know? That's going to be the question.
Standard, so.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough call.
Yeah.
And what I find kind of interesting is that they've just decided to draw a line under Suicide Squad, and they're like, well, let's just make another one. Let's just start. And
no one asked for that.
Nervous about the Batman, you know, especially learning that Affleck's not going to be involved. Like, I mean, Affleck's probably my favorite on-screen Batman. Like, I just thought he nailed like the.
Yeah, likewise.
You know, it's been
you're
such
amongst
a Frank Miller.
You're amongst good company. Yeah, we agree.
Oh man, just he nailed that kind of.
He's got the right shape chin.
He does. Yeah, go
exactly. Yeah.
The bat.
He's a good-looking guy.
Nice ass chin.
Yeah. So like it was like seeing, you know, Dark Knight Returns come to life. So it was like, oh man, it's huge for me, right? It's just beautifully done. So now, like, there's the nerves over Pattinson and the Batman and stuff, which, you know, I think he's going to nail it.
Great actor.
Yeah, he's really great actor. But I'm still a little bit kind of disappointed in that. And like, you know, like you say, with how huge Joker is and just how much of a masterpiece it is, I'm nervous to be disappointed by a Batman movie.
But I want to see Joaquin play Joker as much as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because he's just mesmerizing to watch as that character, and like
Right.
you can never have enough of a good thing.
Well, you can.
But I have no worries if they do a sequel.
Too much of a good thing.
I can't wait for Fast and the Furious 720.
Jesus. Yeah, I wouldn't like to see it become a franchise that's going to cheapen it. It's just such a masterpiece.
I just want to do the movies again because I had the time of my life.
Oh man, yeah.
In New York filming that was It's
Gary spin-off. That's what we need.
I started acting, and you never really actually expect to get to that point when you're working on something like that, So selfishly, I'd love it if they made a whole bunch of them, and I don't care if you guys think they're not as good. I just want to play Gary.
Do you want to play Nice Gary or Twisted Evil Gary?
Oh, was Gary?
I think we need a 4-foot Red Hood, actually. Maybe.
Because I think Joker would recruit Gary into some of his schemes, and then Gary.
Well, you're talking about Gaggy. There's like some people have said maybe he's a nod to that, which makes sense, Or I've had loads of people messaging me saying, "Oh, you should play Penguin." And it's like, I think that's just because I've got a big nose. But it's like obviously Danny DeVito played Penguin, but he's,
Hey, Jonah Hill just pulled out, so there you go.
But, you know what I mean? I think that was. Penguin's not meant to be a little person, is he? Like a dwarf.
No.
It's just Danny DeVito just nailed
Just
it.
a fat fuck.
It's just fat, yeah.
Yeah.
You could be like Scarface from the animated series.
Oh man.
Oh shit. I don't know. I'd be happy to just work with Todd and Joaquin again.
Yeah.
If we don't get another Joker movie, maybe we get a 4th Hangover movie and Gary has some new friends.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Just follow you around for a weekend.
Get a tattoo.
Yeah. Tattoo of Joker on your face. I just, speaking of cultural impact, I just sent you guys on Instagram a picture of, I showed the guy, I think actually we posted it on our page, of Blink-182 played a festival here in Los Angeles. And they they dressed up as Joaquin Phoenix's Joker for Halloween.
Yeah.
Fuck,
So sick.
that's cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the impact this movie is having, man. It's like rock stars are starting to wear Joker outfits on stage like
I
this.
see many Gary costumes, though.
Yeah.
We need to patent the egg in a bush hairstyle.
The egg in the bush hairstyle.
I think you guys need to start a new band and call it Egg in the Bush.
Reunion. Yeah.
Egg in the
That could be our first album.
But it was kind of perfect that you talked about old costumes from when you were a kid. So we do a thing called the lightning round here, where it's just kind of goofy, lighthearted questions just to get to know people. So a tradition that we have is each guest leaves a question for the next guest.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Okay.
sick.
So
Okay.
our previous guest that we had on was Jim Fletcher. He's the creative director at DC Collectibles. He's pretty much the man in charge of all of their statues and action figures and everything.
Awesome.
And he wanted to know, what was the worst Halloween costume you ever had to run around the neighborhood in as a kid?
And that's for both of you.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Worst. I mean, I think it's probably the same over there. Like, the budget one, a bed sheet with the eye holes cut out. That's like the crappiest. But when I say, from my teenage years, I took Halloween pretty seriously. And my ex-girlfriend was 6 foot, and I'm 4 foot. So we always did interesting. Couple costumes, which sounds really sad, doesn't it? But we did a funny one.
Great.
She dressed as Geppetto once, and I was Pinocchio. That was funny. I remember we went to a Halloween party once. I was Superman. I wore this kid's lycra suit, but it was very inappropriate. that is very inappropriately tight.
Mother.
It was just, yeah. I didn't
tight.
realise until I sort of got there. I was like, oh wow, everyone can just look at my penis all day. So, I felt very self-conscious wearing that.
There was a point where we would dress you up like every weekend. It was like our fun, we'd just go out and just film people's reactions to you like dress. Mike was a big like Monsters Inc. Mike was a great one.
If we saw like a stupid kid's costume, we'd just get it because I could fit in them. And like back in the day when like before Jackass and stuff, where it was like CKY, like a lot of our friends like with skateboard and stuff, we had like a big old crappy camcorder, and like we'd just go out and muck about and do stupid videos, and it was always funny to put me in a stupid costume and like walk around the supermarket or whatever and fill up my car with petrol, like, and then like, is that kid? Like, Like, one time I wore this like Mike from Monsters Inc. costume and filled up my car with petrol and walked in, and like people were like, "Is that kid filling up a car and driving it away?" Like
awesome.
Yeah.
I can't really think of any of my costumes, to be honest. Like,
One time, so yeah, me and Mace had another a couple one where she was Bo Peep and I was a sheep. She looked hot, and I think I probably looked quite adorable as a sheep. Yeah. So it's quite embarrassing. Though. That was her idea. I felt like an idiot, like at first, putting it on. But at least she looked hot as Bo Peep.
Yeah, I can't top Bo Peep and a sheep, I'm afraid. I lived in Japan for a while. I think when we did Halloween out there, I couldn't decide whether I was going to be a zombie, a ninja, or a pirate, so I just went as all three. Like as a zombie, ninja, pirate.
Do they do Halloween big over there?
No, not really. Well, kind of. But it's where I was living at the time was at this just really odd place up in the mountains, which is basically like an English village in the mountains where Japanese people can go to be in, like, to culturally immerse themselves in English culture without actually leaving the country. So they'd take, the reason we were celebrating Halloween was because that's something that we would do here, right? So, that's where that came about. But, nothing all that interesting for me. Yours were always the big ones. Yeah. Gizmo was always my favourite one of yours, though. Yeah, I think, like, visually, though, Jigsaw was the best. That was, like, watching, you were freaking people out.
And it's just when I cycled into the party, everyone was like, what the fuck? The Halloween party was, like, in full swing, and then I just cycled in as Jigsaw.
Yeah, that disturbed a lot of people.
Yeah.
So.
That would be disturbing. So, spending a lot of time filming in New York, do you have a preference for type of pizza? Do you like the New York thin style, or do you like some other type of maybe like deep dish style?
I prefer thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I spend a lot of time in Italy as well, and there's always that thing, isn't there? Like, if you turn on Italian, Napoli. So what would you call it? Not Napoleon. Is that Sicilian? Neapolitan pizza, yeah. Okay. It's quite, it is good, but I think American pizza's better.
Ooh, go USA.
Controversial. I just had an Italian film come out where I had to act in Italian. I was an evil scientist that kidnapped kids and tried to steal their superpowers. Cool. Yeah. but yeah. It's weird, like over there, like the pizzas are great and they're so precious over it, and like what you can and can't put on it. But like, I think New York pizza is way better. So there's that. There's me losing Italian fans. But
shove it up your ass, Italy.
Yeah. Your pizza's good, but it kind of sucks compared to New York pizza. It's too oily. They put too much oil on everything.
I've only ever been to the States once. I was really young, but I love Chicago style pizza, and there's a great place. Again, I spent a lot of time in Japan, but there's this insane Chicago-style pizza place in Tokyo. You can't get good pizza in Tokyo. You can't. It's just nowhere to be found. There's this place called Devil Craft that does like craft beers and stuff. It's run by a few American guys, And they've got this amazing place in Canada where you can get like legit Chicago style like deep dish pizzas. And oh man, not just the best pizzas in Japan, like the best pizza I've ever had. So good.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a statement.
Yeah. So good.
I've actually got a slice of pizza tattooed on my foot. That's how much I hate pizza. Do I need to come up with a question for your next guest?
Yeah.
That's gonna be.
Well, we'll do that kind of at the end. But be thinking of it. Keep it in the back burner.
Let it marinate.
Yeah. So, who's your favorite football club to support?
I'm more of a UFC guy, sports-wise, but my family are all Scousers, so if I had to, I'd pick Liverpool. But I don't give a fuck about football.
Yeah, I don't. Like, I've never been a big. Well, I guess you guys call it soccer, right? But I just. It's not so much the game. Like, I've got nothing against the game. It's the people that play it are just the worst.
Play it
kind
or
of
watch
people.
it?
Players.
Play it, oh.
Well, watching it too. You know.
And there's the whole like football hooligan.
Yeah, I mean, it's so big here. Like, you don't really, unless you're in like an English pub when England's playing or whatever. You just don't get a scope for it. And people are so obsessive and so defensive about it. It's it's a handful of like just these
hooligans.
They're guys with just weak constitutions that care more about their haircut than anything else. Kicking a pigskin into an outdoor cupboard, like that's all it is.
An outdoor cupboard.
That's all it is, right? It's just there's nothing interesting about it to me. Like I've always been a big martial arts guy, so like I love watching. Grappling is like in the past few years the way that grappling's going now and becoming a bit more mainstream. Like that's I love watching that. It's like Joe Rogan called it like what's he call it chess with dire consequences or something like that. I can't remember, but it's like watching two guys trying to strangle each other is just. I don't know. It's fascinating to me to watch. Like,
it's a great time for me.
I'm not a big. I've studied Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but not all that much of it. But the element of judo that I love the most is the ground grappling stuff. Because I'm a small guy generally, and I'm generally always on the bottom of the fight. But like the idea that I can dominate someone from that position is, it's just, it's a fascinating kind of thing. And watching two guys at the like highest level going at it. It's love it. But fuck football, basically.
Fuck football. Gary, what kind of guitar do you play?
I haven't played in ages now. It's really bad.
And we'd actually talked about doing a reunion recently.
Yeah, he went so far as to buy a new.
Yeah, I went and bought a new bass and stuff.
And then I think it's probably my fault we haven't. We're going to do a reunion show. I think it's my fault we haven't.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah, I've got a Jackson. So like for me, like it's more about it needs to be light. I love like Les Pauls and stuff, but like for me especially, just they kill my back.
Right, as well. So I remember when you bought the Firebird and then you couldn't play it because it was
too heavy. Yeah,
that's what I play.
Firebird.
What kind of air guitar do you play?
No. Here's a better. What song do you rock out to on air guitar?
Oh. See,
what is your go-to air guitar song?
I'm a big Iron Maiden fan. Like when it comes to air guitar and like just Iron Maiden. In fact, I've got an interesting story about Iron Maiden. So one of our mutual buddies, Justin, used to tech for Iron Maiden.
Well, I know Griffin Dickinson. I know Bruce Dickinson's son.
Oh, really? Griffin, I don't know. But so when I was
in a band called Shapes.
Shapes. Oh, Shapes are great.
But they want to instead of the A, it's like a V. So Shvips. But they're awesome.
You're always interrupting. It's crazy. I'm trying to tell the story. So when I was living in Japan, Justin messaged me and was like, "Hey, Iron Maiden's coming out to Japan. We're doing 2 dates in Japan. Come and hang out. Like, I'll get you backstage passes. Come and hang out stay at the hotel with us. Hang with the band and stuff." So I was losing my fucking mind at this point. So I'd settled it with work that I'd kind of go down there for the weekend, losing my mind completely. And but that day it transpired was the day of the big quake, right, in Japan. So I get to Tokyo. I'm on my way to the hotel. And then 15 minutes before their plane lands, the big one happens. You know, earth shaking, tsunamis, all the rest of it. They get diverted, and then I'm stuck in Tokyo for like 2 weeks. Can't get back. You know, it's So that was utterly wild. Like, especially being in that area of Tokyo. I don't know whether any of you guys know Tokyo, but like being in the skyscraper districts. You know, around Shinjuku, like watching the buildings sway and like not being able to stand up because the earth's like just heaving so intensely, like fucking terrifying, man.
And that made you want to play air guitar?
Yeah. I think about that every time I rock out to Iron Maiden. I was like, oh man, like only I have that sort of bad luck where I'm like going to meet some of my idols and Japan just decides to fucking chew me up and spit me out. It's crazy. Yeah.
I like a bit of Skid Row.
Yes, Skid Row is big for us. Yeah.
Sebastian Bach.
Oh man.
Wrecking Ball.
Yeah.
Sebastian Bach's doing a tour right now in the U.S.
Oh really?
Cool.
Yeah, he's on tour right now, but it's kind of messed up. His house is really close to the fires that are happening over here. So yeah, I don't know if he had to cancel early or not, but he was out there doing a solo tour.
Damn.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Graeme, I've got a story that kind of can compete with yours. I'm not sure if it's as big as an earthquake, but I really like some of the UK indie bands, especially like Stereophonics, and they never come to the US to tour. And they put out an album. It's probably been 6 years ago, and they announced some dates on the East and West Coast. And buddy of mine get some flights to come out to Los Angeles to see them at, I think it's called like Ford Theater. It was on Hollywood Boulevard.
Fonda.
Super pumped. Fonda, yeah. I'm super pumped. My buddy bails for some work thing, so I'm like, fuck it, I'll go by myself. Got a hotel, spent the whole day at the beach doing cool sightseeing stuff. Day of the show comes. I'm in line, and the Fonda has a rooftop bar with like a video screen, and you could see them doing their sound check and kind of hear muffled sound inside. So I'm like, wow, cool. They're about to, this is going to be great. And then about 15 minutes before the door opens, my back starts hurting me, and it's like cramping up, and I'm like, no, this is not good. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And this has happened to me before, and I knew exactly what it was. And I start talking to the people that are standing in line with me, and I'm like, do you guys know where the next hospital is? And they're like looking at me like, this guy's on drugs. What's going on? And I'm to the point in the pain where I'm like, I'm having a kidney stone.
Oh shit.
And I'm like to the point where I'm like, I know I've got about this window of time before I'm either going to need an ambulance, or I'm just going to go in the bar and just pound all the gin and tonics they got till this goes.
Can't feel it.
Oh,
Shit.
So I have to go speak Spanish with the valet guys to get my car and drive myself across Los Angeles traffic to the nearest hospital.
Shit.
I've driven in Los Angeles. They don't have it's the worst, and they don't believe in left turn signals. So when the light turns red, about 4 cars just run it.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to make a left turn, and I spent 30 minutes trying to make a left turn, and the whole time this throbbing pain is just killing me. And I get to the hospital, and again, I'm the only one that speaks English in this hospital. And I'm trying to fill out the paperwork and go into the bathroom to throw up, and then come back. I'm waiting, go to the bathroom, throw up. This happens 3 times. Then finally someone comes up to me and says, every time you go to the bathroom, they call your name.
Oh, shit.
No way.
Yeah. So after all night being in the hospital, they discharge me. I walk out. I have to go to the bathroom. I piss out this little flake of a kidney stone and collect it in the cup and walk up to them. And they're like, Yep, that's it. You're good to go.
Oh man.
Whoa.
Jesus.
Not the rock that I wanted to see.
Yeah. Fuck.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
How do they even happen? How do you get those?
Salt.
How do you get a stone in your kidney?
Just a lot of salt.
Is it salt?
Protein, just
Not salt.
not drinking enough water.
I drink Coca-Cola.
Sometimes they're genetic.
Yeah.
When I drink
Could be
water,
genetic.
I'm red, like, it's all weird.
No, you got all that to look forward to then.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
I'm such a
Everybody-
sugar friend.
Who's your favorite band?
Oh, the Gaslight Anthem.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Well, they're kind of on hiatus, so I guess one less about now. On like the sort of like just melodic rock side, I'd say the Menzingers.
Okay.
And on the heavier side, I'm going to shout out two French bands.
Oh, you're unbelievable.
Stray from the Path, you got to check them out. They just got a new album out this week, which is banging. and like one of my best friends' band, Polar.
Yeah, Polar is sick.
Yeah, and they're a British band.
Ridiculously good. Yeah.
Okay. Graeme, your favorite bands?
Probably the most. I'd probably say Thrice. Like Thrice.
Nice.
Yeah.
One of those bands that every time they put out a new record, I just seem to be in the right mindset for that music, and I just like find Dustin is one of the most incredible songwriters that's out there. Like, he's just got a beautiful voice, like the way he, the emotion that's behind what he's doing. It's just every single album is gold. Like, it's just and I'm all for, like, I've always been a big like lyric guy. Like, back when I was writing songs, it was all for me about the lyrics. Like, I wouldn't just churn out as much as I could. Like, I had to be sort of happy with it. And his lyrics are also poignant and just what they stand for as well. They're good guys. In terms of like how like where I don't know, one of the biggest bands for me is, I get a lot of shit for this, is Dream Theater. Like, I
dude, fucking awesome, dude.
Not like a big fan of the movie. Like, in the Portnoy days, I love them. And in particular, like Scenes from a Memory, that's one of the most like influential albums for me ever. Changed everything. It is what turned me onto drums. Like, I'm also a drummer as well, and like listening to Portnoy play drums on that album was like, I didn't know this was possible. Like, I didn't know that drums could have a voice, right? And that changed everything for me. So that was But in particular, their old stuff. I'm quite into like hair metal and stuff like that. So their early days, Images and Words, Change of Seasons, that kind of thing. Oh man,
Octavarius.
Another consistently great band that we used to like from teens. Punk band, because I used to love just like double time fast punk, like Propaganda. I've still got. They're Canadian, so right? Good. They're insane. So
those
cool.
guys are sick. Yeah, Graeme. When I was in high school, I saw Thrice on the Artist in the Ambulance album cycle when they played live, and they played with Darkest Hour, Poison the Well. And other band that doesn't exist anymore, Moments in Grace, but they were really good. But I saw them in this really old theater in Ventura, the Ventura Theater, and it was probably like one of the coolest. It was one of my, no, it wasn't my first concert, but it was like, I hadn't been into those bands, like the Thrice kind of bands necessarily, but after that, I saw them every tour they went on after that. So in college, I caught them on what was the one after that? Was it Visu after that one?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite albums of all time.
I think I've seen Thrice on every album tour.
Yeah.
Like, every time they're over here, I try to get them.
I've only seen them a couple of times, and I kind of regret that.
Dude,
they're great.
Too busy now, I guess. But
I saw them on the Artist in the Ambulance tour. I saw them on the Visu tour. Then they did the Alchemy Index right after that. I think I saw them about 3 or 4 times. I saw them before the Alchemy Index came out in this tiny little club in San Francisco called Slim's. I was about maybe like 2 feet from the stage. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, Dustin, that singer, that dude is like I wouldn't consider him just like a lyricist. He's like a storyteller. The way he,
that's what I love about him. Really. In fact, I've just recently started getting back into playing. I've been doing some open mic nights and things like that, and just to sort of I've kind of missed the singing kind of aspect. And I had like this set prepared that I would do when I went to do my first one like a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I'll do a few tracks. had my ideas as to what I was going to do, and when I got up there, all I played was thrice songs. Just change. It was just like, this is all I really want to do.
Awesome.
Words in the Water for me is like just one of the most beautiful songs ever written. Just
man, that's a great example of like this, like his songwriting in general, where it's like storytelling, and even if you're someone that doesn't like even listen to or know the message that he's like kind of spreading, it's insane to know that there's like that double meaning behind everything that he's ever done. Yeah. And but yeah, that song in particular is a great example of it. I like that one, and I also love the one that reminds me of that song is it was on Beggars. The one about the sinking ship. I forget what it's called, but it's very similar, and it's got that same kind of tone towards in the water.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that band's awesome. Not enough credit for those guys.
No. If you guys could have a dinner with anyone in history, dead or alive, who would it be?
History.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
He's like the biggest Arnie fan. He always has been.
Yeah. Best actor in the world. Serious. Because my justification, like, of how you should see your, like, the best actor is, who do you want to see in a movie more than anyone? And I'll be the first person to the cinema to watch Arnie in anything. I grew up like my dad like showing us like Predator and Commander and stuff like. Well, we were way too young to watch it, but like that was my idea of a movie.
Right.
Just guns, explosions, funny one-liners. Like for me, like he's my favorite actor.
And we even used like sound bites from his movies in the first EP that we recorded.
Hilarious.
Sound bites from his movie. For me, I think I don't know whether I think probably for me it's going to be Ricky Jay. Ricky Jay was he was a magician and card mechanic and an actor as well.
Wasn't expecting that. I don't even know who the hell that is.
Yeah, I mean, very influential for me. Like I'm a big, not so much the magic. I used to be like into doing card magic and things like that. Now I'm all about like sleight of hand and gambling routines and like cheating at the card table and learning about this kind of stuff. And Ricky Jay was like the first guy to introduce me to that. But like before that, I think what got me into music was into magic was David Blaine, and that he was obviously mind blowing. But when I came to like study and learn about it, I would find myself cringing at the idea of the magician as this like character, just the banter and stuff. You want to see a card trick? Just like, oh man, like the least cool person you could be as a magician, right? Whereas Ricky Jay then introduced this character of the cheat, the guy at the card table that would just audaciously take everyone's money with the techniques that he knew and putting his life on the line for it. He was just the coolest guy.
Never playing poker against you.
Just the coolest guy in the world. Like amazing actor, like very intelligent. He's a magic historian and he's a bit of an introvert, like quite a quiet guy, like kept to himself and stuff. I wish I could have met him. Unfortunately never kind of got around to seeing him or doing anything like that, and he died recently. But I think he would be the most interesting person to have a conversation with.
Come on, Arnie, dude.
Oh man.
You're having way more fun.
Cheers. Look, the last time I came over, legitimately, when I walked in the door, he had Twins on the TV.
Yeah.
Every time I come here.
I love that line in Twins where Danny DeVito's like, wait, you get the intelligence and the strength, and all the leftover shit comes to me or something like that.
Yeah.
There's this Bill Hader, the actor comedian, talks about when he was like first starting out. He was like a gopher on set for Collateral Damage, the movie with Arnold.
Oh,
and he said,
we saw that in the cinema. I remember that.
Yeah.
Collateral Damage.
Yeah. So he was on set just kind of being like an assistant, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was like getting his he was gonna get his hair or makeup done, but I guess like the guys weren't there yet. So he comes out of his trailer and he sees Bill Hader right there and he goes, where are Eric and Greg? And I guess those were his hair and makeup guys. And then Bill Hader goes, oh, they're over there. Do you want me to go get them? And then Arnold Schwarzenegger says, yes, go get them. Show me your leadership capabilities.
Dude, you did the best impression. That's fucking awesome.
Show me your leadership capabilities.
See what I mean?
Yeah, it's just
You want dinner with that guy.
yeah. Okay. Can I change my answer?
Nope.
I'm with Lee. On this.
Yeah, man.
Okay, do you have your question maybe for our next guest?
Do you know who the next guest is going to be yet, or do we have to just come up with
Yes.
Okay.
His name is Jorge Forness. He is a comic book artist.
Okay.
Okay.
He's working on like Batman and Daredevil.
He needs to put Gary in a book.
Yeah. How does it feel about putting Yeah, it can be about anything.
Anything.
Okay. I guess going back to okay. If he could put himself in a comic book or a movie, what kind of a death would he have? What's like on-screen death? Like if he had to choose his own on-screen death, what would it be and why?
I'd love to die in something. I've never died in it.
You almost did.
Yeah,
almost
sure.
Yeah, I should have been a dick. No, yeah, I'd love to die. So that's a great question.
Thanks, man.
How would I like to die?
I'm not asking you.
Okay, one death that I thought was like really, really gross and cool in Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards. So there's an actor, Til Schweiger, who I did a couple of movies with him, and like he naturally, he plays Hugo Stiglitz in that film, and he's just got like naturally his face, he just always looks like he hates you.
Right.
Even when you become like really friendly with him, he just naturally looks terrifying. And when he was directing a movie like that, I was in with him, and all of the crew called his trailer the Death Star, which was funny.
Awesome.
But he's actually a really lovely guy. But in Inglourious Bastards, there's one way he shoves his fist in this Nazi's mouth and just keeps forcing it. I thought that was pretty gross. That's quite.
That's
cool.
That's how you want to die.
I mean, if you're gonna die in something, you want it to be.
Yeah, you want it to be big,
pretty full on, right?
I was very impressed with the deaths in the recent Rambo movie.
Yes.
I've never witnessed a guy ripping another guy's heart out non-ironically in a movie. That was quite something to behold. So that
or the guy that got his head like halfway decapitated.
Yeah. Why is that always so much worse?
Yeah, that is. I mean, there's a comedy horror I like called Stitches, and there's some hilarious deaths in that. So it's like a clown. He's a murderous clown, and there's one where he has like a balloon pump thing that clowns all have, and he pumps up this person's head until it pops. That's quite fun. Inflating a guy's head until it pops. That's quite a funny death.
You need to come up with a question.
Oh, I thought that was the question.
No, you've got to do one as well, I guess.
Oh. Okay.
Double question.
If you could play any character in any movie, what would it be?
Play any character. Okay.
Mine was better, I feel.
Yeah. I agree.
Play any character in any movie, and then how would he die?
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Make it. Yes. There you go.
Well, would you guys like to plug whatever you're working on next, and also how people find you on social media and your Healy and Son shop?
Yeah, I mean anyone that's into like style, sartorialism, any of that kind of stuff. It's Healy and Son, HealyAndson on Instagram. I'm not really on I am on Facebook, but I don't really use it. Or HealyandSon.com. Yeah, you'd like to see some of the sort of creative process that goes into this kind of thing. That's me.
Cool. Well, I've got like a film out at the moment in Italy called Il giorno più bello del mondo. You're gonna remember that one, aren't you?
What does that mean?
I think it's
El Juno Poblano Pepper.
He's the greatest day in the world, which doesn't quite make sense, but that's what it translates.
Sounds way better in Italian.
yeah, right. But then, it's quite funny. Like I play like an evil scientist. So if you enjoyed Joker and seeing me as Gary, and you want to see me as something completely different, that'll be a fun one to watch. It's actually a really good family comedy. So, watch it with subtitles and have a laugh on that. But then also I've got I did an independent movie with this awesome director, Carlos Calica from Portugal. It's called Puto, Puto, and it's
nice.
I play an assassin. And
shit.
It's going to be a short movie. It's going to be about 20 minutes. We're aiming to get it in film festivals next year, but it's going to be the most violent thing ever. So keep an eye out for that. But then if you want to find me on Instagram, it's Leigh.Gill, and it's LEIGH.GILL. I'm now for social media stuff, so maybe that'll help me get some more followers.
There you go. Yeah, I just followed both of you.
There you go.
Nice.
Guys, this was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
it was
this
a
was
pleasure
awesome.
to have you both on.
Yeah,
That was a lot of fun.
Great fun.
Lee's ready to go to the pub.
There you go.
I think I need to get some food in me first, though.
Yeah.
Some tacos.
Yeah, all that pizza talk is,
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks so much again, gentlemen. I hope you have a lovely evening. And thanks so much for everything.
Hey, Gotham dwellers. Make sure to stop everything right now and subscribe to Bat Force Radio. We can be found on iTunes and SoundCloud. Don't miss out. Guaranteed to satisfy all of your Batman and DC needs.